Okay, I'm going to start over. For anybody that was watching my live feed, I'm so sorry. I mean, our internet is usually very good. So I don't know what happened. It had to be the devil trying to stop me from doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start over. And I may just do this as a video instead of trying to do it live. If it does, I'm going to try to do it live again next week. And if it does the same thing, then I'm just going to do it as a video and you can watch it at your leisure. So I'm going to start from the beginning again. My name is Angela Caps, and I am going to do a deep dive Bible study. The reason that I'm doing this deep dive Bible study is because the Lord laid it upon my heart. To start with, I was trying to just find a Bible study class to learn more about the Bible and to learn. But I wanted a deep study of the Bible. I didn't want just to read the scriptures and, I can do that at home. I can do that myself. I wanted to get history and know things and see things and understand things. And I couldn't find a Bible study like that. And the Lord laid it upon my heart. He said, I don't want you to find a Bible study. I want you to start a Bible study. And I'm like, start a Bible study? God, I'm not a public speaker. I'm not somebody who likes to talk in front of a lot of people. I trip over my words. I'm not somebody to do this. And the Lord's like, I want you to do this. I want you to lead a Bible study. Anybody that knows me knows that regardless of what it is, I obey what God tells me to do. And I have always found that obeying what God tells me to do ends up being really good for me in my life. To start with, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to say who she is because her and I are really good friends now. But there was a lady that was at a church that I was at. And she didn't like me. We didn't get along at all. And she was at the altar and she was praying. And I was sitting in my seat. And the Lord laid it upon me. Go up there and pray with her. And I'm like, look, God, do you know who that is? I am not going up there and praying with that woman. No. That can't be you. That can't be you. And I heard it again. Go up there and pray with her. And I'm like, God, I don't want to go up there and pray with this woman. She don't like me. I said, Lord, I can't do that. Then a third time, go up there and pray with her. I was, excuse me. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to do what you're telling me to do. But if this woman hits me, I'm not turning the other cheek. I'm just going to let you know that. I went up there with her, and I started praying with her. And when she saw who it was, she just grabbed me in a big hug and just cried on me. She just bawled on me. We cried together. And long story short, her and I are still good friends. I love her to death. There are times that I can get her through something that nobody else would have been able to get her through. And there are times that she can get me through something that I don't feel like anybody else could get me through. So that taught me, no matter what, no matter how scared I am, and no matter what I think, to do what the Holy Spirit tells me to do. So He's told me to do this Bible study and to do it, a deep dive into the Bible. So I'm obeying Him, and I'm going to do a deep dive into the Bible. And I'm going to start with the book of Ruth. And I love the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth is my favorite book of the Bible. And it's not because it's a love story. That's not why it's my favorite book. The reason that it's my favorite book is because it shows God's love and how He can use anybody. Rahab, who was a Canaanite woman, she was a prostitute. And she told a lie to hide two spies. She is the mother of Boaz, who is the father of Obed, who is the father of Jesse, who is the father of David, which brings about the lineage of Jesus. And not only does God speak of her use her in the book of Ruth. Also in Psalms 87, it speaks of the cities of Zion and the things that will be spoken. And it speaks of talking about Rahab. That one act of obedience really gave her, she is in the lineage of Jesus because of that one act of obedience, even though she was a Canaanite woman and she was a prostitute. And that makes me realize no matter what we've done in our life, no matter who we are, God can use us if we're willing to be used. We just have to be willing to be used as a vessel of God. As we begin the book of Ruth, before we begin the book, I want us to say a little prayer first, and then we will begin the book of Ruth. Our precious Heavenly Father, I thank you for your love and your mercy and your grace and who you are. Lord, I just want to thank you for your book, all of your books of the Bible. Your word is a living word that we can go to anytime. It is a living word that no matter how many times we read it, we will learn and get something new from your word. And Lord, as we begin our Bible study on the book of Ruth, I pray that you would clear my heart and mind of everything that is going on around me, that you would take away any blockage that the devil has out there, and that you would help me to focus on your word and what you would have me to get out of this word, and what you would have the people that may watch this video get out of your word. And Lord, if there is anyone out there that does not know you, I pray that they would read your word and that they would watch this video, and that it would touch their heart. In your precious name we do pray. Amen. And if there's anybody out there that doesn't know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and you stumble upon this video and you want to talk more about who this Jesus is and who this God is, I would love to tell you my story, the things that Jesus has done for me, and how he saved me, and my life and what I've been through, and how amazing he has been, and what he has helped me to get through. There's nothing else that you will ever do or ever be or ever get that will be as wonderful as being saved by the blood of Jesus Christ and what God can do for you. It overwhelms me sometimes that God would love me the way that he does and would do for me the things that he does. Okay, let's begin the book of Ruth. Okay, I've got a couple questions as we begin the book of Ruth. My first question is this: why is the book of Ruth in the middle of all of the book of the covenants? And what are the book of the covenants? So let me begin by saying and explaining what the book of the covenants are, and then I will also explain how the book of Ruth is used within all of the books of the covenant. Okay, so the very first covenant was the Noetic covenant. That was the covenant between God and Noah. It was the covenant that God made with Noah that he would never again flood the earth with water. Also, Noah and this covenant with God, Noah found grace with God. He found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Just as Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, so did Ruth. Ruth found grace with God as well. And just like Noah prayed for his sons and to bring relief from the curse, Naomi prayed for her daughters. She prayed for both Ruth and Orpah to find a husband again, to be able to start their lives over. Now, the next covenant is the Abrahamic covenant. This was a covenant between God and Abraham, where God was telling Abraham that he his descendants would be more than the grains of sand that he could count, or the stars in the sky that he could count. And, Ruth loved God, and she, the people of Israel became people that, they became her people. God's land became her land. God blessed her because of the obedience that she had to God. But also, there is the Mosaic covenant. God made a covenant with his people that if they obeyed him, he would bless them. But also, if they disobeyed him, he would curse them. And you also have examples of both of those in the book of Ruth. In Ruth 1, the book clearly shows you that there was famine in the land. There was famine in the land just like there was famine in the land in the time of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Also, in those times, this was the dark times. This was in the book of Ruth is during the time of the judges, and during that time period, people did what they thought was right. Whatever they felt was the right thing to do, that's what they did. But there were still those that loved God, and because of Naomi's obedience, God shows her grace. God shows her blessings. The book of Ruth also depicts those who demonstrate faith, like Abraham. The Lord blessed Abraham. He blessed the people of Israel. He gave them, they had crops, they had harvest. God gave them manna from the land. They didn't even have to get out and work for it, or all they had to do was just go out and pick it. And then when they got tired of the manna and they wanted, we want meat, we don't want manna anymore, we're tired of manna. Well, then God gave them, quail. God provided for the Israelites. And he also provides for Ruth and Naomi. He allows he allows Ruth of all the fields that, she finds. She could have found a field somewhere else, but God had a hand in, Ruth's life, from the very beginning. He chose for her to glean and to work in the field of Boaz. And not only, and also because of Ruth's, obedience to God and also to Naomi, God blesses her. He gives her her and Boaz a son. And that son is Obed, who begets Jesse, who begets David, who begets, the line that becomes the lineage of Jesus. And also, God blesses Boaz. Like I said, like I was saying previously, Boaz is the son of Ruth and Solomon. And Boaz, he also demonstrates faith by, telling them to leave more behind for her to glean. See, in the biblical times, the law was that you left behind for the widows, for the poor. You left something for them to be able to get food. Boaz was, he was the redeemer for Ruth. Ruth, she was a blessing to Naomi, and because of her commitment and being a blessing to Naomi, God allowed Boaz to be a blessing to Ruth. Now, the next covenant was the Davidic covenant. The covenant promised that an offspring of David would reign upon David's throne for all eternity. This is found in 2 Samuel 7:18 through 16, 1 Chronicles 17 through 11 and 14. Ruth, and like I said before, Ruth begot Obed, who begot Jesse, who begot David. And also, as far as the new covenant is concerned, the new covenant is recorded in Jeremiah 31, which was not written in the days of Ruth. However, God had already planned it out. Okay, let's go ahead and start reading the book of Ruth now. Bear with me just a moment while I get everything set up here. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judea, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. Okay, let's stop right there. Let's think about that for a minute. The famine was so bad in Bethlehem that Elimelech chose to take his family and go to Moab. This had to be hard for him to do, because I'm sure that he knew that the Moabites would not allow the Israelites to cross over their land when they went, when they were doing their journey from Egypt. So there had to be some tension there. So it had to be a great famine for him to be willing to take his family and move to Moab. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mechlon and Chiliton, Euphrates of Bethlehem, Judea. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, and her son and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. So this is a picture of what Moab would have looked like. So this is where Moab is, right in here. This is Moab. Moab was east, I think it was west east or east of the Dead Sea. And Mohan and Chiliton died also, both of them, and the women were left of her 2 sons and her husband. So within 10 years, Naomi had lost her husband and both of her sons. Now, after their father had died, the 2 sons chose to take women from Moab. Now, unlike marrying a Canaanite woman, which was against God's law, it wasn't forbidden to marry a woman from Moab, but it was highly discouraged. Moabites were not allowed to worship in the temple because they had not allowed the Israelites to pass through their land during their journey from Egypt. However, as God's chosen people, God's chosen nation, they should have set the higher standard for the other nations to follow. But since they didn't, God chose to use Ruth as a shining example of what Christ's love would be like. They lived in Moab for about 10 years. And then both Naomi's sons died. And when Naomi's sons died, Naomi calls together both her daughters Ruth and Orpah, and she tells them, I've heard there's bread in Bethlehem. So I'm going to go back to Bethlehem. But you two stay here and, start over, start your lives over. Then she arose with her daughters-in-laws, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people and given them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she saw, and her two daughters-in-laws with her. And they went on their way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her two daughter-in-laws, Go, return each to her mother's house, and the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. So she's telling both Orpah and Naomi, she's saying, you dealt kindly with me, you stayed with me after my sons died, you were good to me. Now you both go ahead and you leave. I'm going back to to Bethlehem, but you stay and start your lives over. And to start with, both Ruth and Orpah tell Naomi, no, we'll stay with you. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb that may be your husbands? In other words, she was telling both Orpah and Ruth, do I have any more sons that can take care of you? I don't have any more sons. I don't have anything to offer to you. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should be and bear sons, would you tarry for them till they were grown? Would you stay for them? The hand of the Lord is gone out against me. In other words, she was saying, if I was to get married tonight and got pregnant immediately, and had children, had let's just say I had twins, would you wait? Would you tarry for those sons to be grown and to be able to take care of you? She's saying, I'm old. I'm not going to get married again. But you're young. You can get married. You can have a life. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her mother-in-law. So after, after Naomi tells Ruth and Orpah, I don't have any sons. I mean, you start your life over. Orpah basically agrees, which is her right. She realizes that, okay, well, yeah, I'm young. I can start my life over. I can get remarried. I can have security. But regardless of whether Naomi had anything to offer to Ruth, Ruth says, no, I'm staying with you. Regardless, I'm going to stay with you no matter what. In fact, she says, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from thee after thee. For whether thou goest, I will go, and whether thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and my God, thy God, my God. In other words, she's telling Naomi that, she's going to go wherever she goes. That, Naomi's God, which is, the one true God, is also her God. So even though Ruth was a Moabite, she still loved God. She knew that God was the only God. He was the one true God. He wasn't a God. He was the God. And she worshiped him as the one true God that he was. And she's telling Naomi, if you're going to Bethlehem, I'm going to Bethlehem with you. So when Naomi realizes that no matter what no matter what she says, no matter what Naomi says, that Ruth is going to stay with her, she's just like, okay, well, if you're going to stay with me, if you're bound and determined, then, I'm not going to tell you can't stay with me. Then she says, where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, I ought to put to death, but thee and me. In other words, she's telling Naomi, I'm going to be with you forever. I'm going to stay with you until I die. We're going to be buried beside each other. I'm not going to leave you. I mean, that was a huge commitment that, Ruth was willing to make to Naomi. I mean, she loved Naomi. She loved Naomi and God both. I mean, Ruth is a prime example of what, true love really is. I mean, she loved both God and Naomi with all her heart. And she was willing to follow both of them. When she saw that she was steadfast-minded to go with her, then she left, speaking unto her. So the two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, excuse me, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? Okay, so let me show you what it would have looked like. So it was very rough and steep terrain. So it probably, this is what Moab looks like. So this is very, steep and rugged terrain. I mean, this would be like climbing the mountains for us. So even though the journey was only 50 miles, this journey would have taken about 7 to 10 days to make. Sorry, I'm just kind of getting my notes here together. So when Naomi gets back to Bethlehem, there are people, I mean, she's been gone, about 10 years. There are people that remember who Naomi was. They're like, oh, is this Naomi? And Naomi says to them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty have dealt very bitterly with me. So she's saying, don't call me Naomi anymore, call me Mara, which Mara means bitter. Because Naomi, she had left Bethlehem married, secure, and she had 2 sons. And she returns to Bethlehem. She is widowed and she is poor. I went outfield, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabites, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and then came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. But even though Naomi was sad and depressed, and she had all right to be, she had lost, her husband and her sons, she still praised God and knew who God was. I mean, she says a prayer for both of her daughters to find, a new husband, for their lives to be good. So she still recognized God for who he was, even though she was sad and depressed. And that's something we have to also think about. Even though there are times that we're going to be sad and depressed, because life happens. I mean, things are going to happen in each and every one of our lives. We have to remember who God is and what God has done for us in the past. We may not understand why we're going through what we're going through. And another thing, even when we're going through things that make us sad and sorrowful, God understands. He understands how we feel about things. And we need to talk to God when we're sad and things have upset us. I mean, he listens. He will listen to what we have to say. I mean, just because we're going through a hard time, you know, a lot of people, when they go through something hard, they either want to blame God or they want to get away from God. But that's when we need to draw the closest that we can to God. I mean, I'll give you an example in my own life. My daughter and I had moved, my daughters and I had moved to Mississippi. You know, I live in Virginia, and we had moved to Mississippi. Well, when we were living there, I had a job where I, you know, was offered an opportunity to be able to not only have the job, but have a place to live. So I gave, you know, I was like, okay, so I gave up the lease that I had. Well, something happened with the owner, and she was like, you know what, I've changed my mind. You're not going to live here. You're not going to, I just don't, I don't think this is the right fit for me. I don't think this is going to work out. So I found myself completely and totally homeless with nowhere to go. And my daughter and I, we ended up in a hotel. And not long after that, I would say maybe 2-3 weeks, if that even, we were in a car wreck where I was hit head on by a police officer. So then I had no car, and I had no job. No car, no job, and very little food. And I remember feeling really, to be honest, I was really scared. I really felt, I kind of felt like Job, like I was losing everything. And I remember getting down on my knees and praying to God, do not, please God, don't take my daughter from me. Please, you can do anything, but just don't take my daughter from me. But instead of being cold and bitter towards God, I grew closer and closer to God. I mean, I now look back at what I went through and what happened, and I truly believe in my heart that that is what drew me closer and closer to God. Because even though Satan was trying to destroy me, pull me apart from God, and make me believe that, you know, he wasn't there for me, that, you know, well, look what he's allowed to have happen to you. You've lost your home. You've lost your job. You don't even have a car. You know, God sent people into my life that helped me to get through that time. I mean, there was not a day that went by that I didn't have food. There were days when I wondered where the food was going to come from. But somebody always came through. We always found food. We always, and I truly believe in my heart, had I not stayed close to God, had I not trusted God, I would not have the life that I have now. I have a wonderful husband. I have a great job that I love. I have a nice home. And I don't believe if I had have stopped trusting God that I would have had any of that. And you know, I think about Naomi. Had Naomi not trusted God, you know, would she have had what she ends up with? And as we end the chapter of chapter 1 of Ruth, I want to show you what the barley harvest was. Excuse me. So in Bethlehem, the temperature is so moderate that there is harvest twice a year. There in the springtime, there is harvest of the barley. So this would be what the barley would be. This would be a woman who, you know, would be gleaning. This would be like the widow or the poor who would be gleaning for what was left behind. And this is a picture of what the beautiful olive groves in Bethlehem looked like. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to talking with you again next Thursday. Like I said, I'm going to try it one more time live. If it doesn't work out live, then going forward, I will do a video. Thank you for watching. God bless, and have a great day.